Good evening and welcome. Welcome to this Tuesday edition of the Angela Ray Show. I hope that you all have had a great day. It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood. As always, for those of you who will be catching the broadcast on the replay, thank you so much for hanging out. You can feel free to comment. I do go back and look at the comments even a day or so after the broadcast has aired. For those of you who are watching the broadcast live, do me a favor, go ahead and slide in those comments. This week is all about education. My theme, my series title is Keeping It Classy. And so when you slide in those comments on tonight, let me know either your alma mater for high school or for college. And if you have an advanced degree, pick one. Just pick a college. Would love to know who is on the broadcast tonight, who you are representing. If you have been under a rock, you don't know that I am a very proud Tar Heel, but I'm also a very proud Southview Tiger. I graduated from Southview High School in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Again, when you get on the broadcast tonight, go ahead and slide in those comments and let me know how you are repping tonight, either your high school or your college alma mater. Again, we are in the midst of a new series called Keeping It Classy, all about education. So many students across the country, both in school as well as college, started classes between last week and or this week. Some are virtual learners and some are learning on campus. And there are strong feelings and strong debates on both sides. But I wanted to provide some resources for both parents and students, as well as the community, because there's so many things that we as community members can do to support both our teachers, professors, as well as students, even if we don't have any students or children in school. So, as always, we're going to get started on tonight with our Ray of Motivation moment. And for tonight's Ray of Motivation moment, I just want to let you know that transparency is the gasoline that will accelerate your healing. Transparency is the gasoline that will accelerate your healing. I travel a lot. Well, BC, before COVID, I was on the road a lot. And there is nothing like putting the pedal to the metal to get from point A to point B in a record amount of time. Oftentimes, when we are looking to bring about change in our life, healing is another way to look at that. There are things that we're not honest about, and it's not even always about being transparent necessarily in a public forum. It is not necessary to get on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat or TikTok or whatever your fancy is in terms of social media and broadcast your business to the world. Oftentimes, transparency begins with being honest with yourself, with acknowledging where you are, why you are there, and where you want to go, and what's been holding you back, truthfully. Oftentimes, those things are lodged mentally in our minds. And even when it's not in your mind, even when it's another person, being honest with yourself about how you allow people, places, and other opportunities to steer you away from where you need to go. So, for this Tuesday night edition of the Angela Ray Show, I just want to remind you that transparency is the gasoline that will help you accelerate your healing. And that is tonight's Ray of Motivation moment. Just want to shout out our sponsor for tonight, Shear Beauty Supply Store. Of course, we are still in the midst of a pandemic, even though sometimes you look outside and you go to the grocery store or to Walmart or Family Dollar or wherever you go shopping, it doesn't look that way. But oftentimes supplies are limited. I've seen friends go online saying that they're still looking for masks, or they're looking for those Lysol wipes. Those have definitely, Lysol and Clorox wipes, those have been hard to find. Well, Sheer Beauty Supply has so many great items for you. Of course, there is shampoo and conditioner and curly pudding and shears and things to keep your beard cut, even for the gentleman. But there are also essential items like those K95 masks, which are very effective. There was just a study released today on the most effective face coverings, but also your disposable masks, your gloves, and your hand sanitizer. You can visit the link in our caption tonight to support our sponsor, Sheer Styles Beauty Supply Store. Well, It's about time to bring on the guest of the hour, Miss Sheba Lowe Brown. I've known Sheba forever. She is a proud Tar Heel, just like I am. She is the co-founder of APlus Test Prep in Durham, North Carolina, co-founded with her husband. They have a combined 40 plus years in education. That's teaching, curriculum development, college athletics, higher education, tutoring, and more. And they really believe that customized face-to-face instruction by credentialed professional teachers combined with smart technology, that's where we are right now, results in higher test scores and higher opportunities. And that is what it is all about. So it is my pleasure to bring on Sheba Lowe Brown from A Plus Test Prep. Sheba, thank you so much for being on the Angela Ray Show tonight.
My soror, Angela, thank you so much for having me and A Plus. And by proxy, Vincent, we really appreciate it. It's awesome to be here. You learn something new every time. I did not know you were a Southview Tiger. I did not know that. We worked
Oh,
at
yeah.
Southview. I did not know that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
girl,
awesome.
that's
That
my
is awesome.
play. That's my school, my
Okay.
heart. It's been a
Okay.
while since I've been able to get back. I'm overdue. I
Yeah,
actually have a
I
fellow
know.
alum, someone who's about in my age range. I think he's
Okay.
working with the football team. So we've been talking about,
Okay.
when I can get back there. So would love to go back
Right.
home. No place like
Awesome.
home, in the words of Dorothy.
No place like home. I know that's right. No place like home.
So speaking of home, and we a lot of us have been home for quite a bit. How have you spent
Hmm.
this downtime during the pandemic?
Working a lot. Work. We were talking before the broadcast. Working a
Right.
lot. Eating a lot. Listen, I bought this Ninja Foodie before the pandemic, and I've really
Uh-huh.
been giving it a whirl. And reading a lot.
Okay.
Man, I've read so many books, and reading and working. We've been retooling a lot of things with A plus, but reading and working. Spending some time just sitting around talking. Vincent and I sit around and talk just all the time about so much stuff. It's just been great to have time to reconnect with the folks right here next to you. It's been great.
So you mentioned getting that ninja eating and cooking. So what's been one of those
Girl.
that listen, I've tried it. When I tell you I have tried some of every, I mean, because I
Mm,
was a little bit too scared to eat out at first. So if I had a craving for,
right.
for Asian, I
Okay.
shrimp fried rice at the house. If I had a craving
Okay.
for pizza, I made pizza at the house. Tonight I made a
Right.
black bean burger
Right.
for the first time. So
Okay.
what's been
Okay.
your favorite
Okay.
thing to like create during this time in terms of food?
Um, oh man, short ribs,
Oh,
beef short ribs. Oh my
uh-huh.
goodness, yes, beef short ribs. And I tried my hand at some eggplant parmesan for the first time. A good friend of mine, her husband has a bountiful garden. He invited us over, and Vincent and I came back with you. You would have thought we had gone to Whole Foods or something. It was beautiful. And I tried my hand at some let me see, eggplant parm. It was really good. It was good. My mom
Mm.
said it was good. So, if you can get mom's stamp of approval, you're good to go.
Listen, yes, because that's one of the things I got a chance to do. I got a chance to spend some time with my parents, and I cooked a lot for my
Mm-hmm.
parents when I spent time with them. And when my mama started
Mm-hmm.
asking me for my recipes, I was like, "Oh, I must be
Yes.
doing it," because yeah, I learned
Right.
from her.
Right. Right. The
So
mom is the ultimate compliment.
exactly, always, always, always. Now, describe in your own words what you do at A
Mhm.
Plus Test Prep.
At A Plus Test Prep, we offer academic tutoring, test prep, preparation for any standardized test, for a student who wants to improve, say, their note taking skills, a student who wants to get better scores on the LSAT, a student who wants to prepare for, say, the independent school exam or prepare for the EOC or the EOG. One of the courses that we've developed here lately has been a grammar and writing course, and we're going to offer two different things, grammar and writing, and then we're also going to offer a grammar and writing course through the teaching of African American literature. And we're really excited about that course. But we're all about getting students those basic English, math, reading skills, and helping them improve academically all the way around.
So that means I heard you say LSAT. So that means that you're not
Yeah,
just helping what people might call the traditional student. Maybe there is an adult learner
right.
who has taken
Oh,
some time to
yeah,
work and they may be going back to get their
absolutely.
MBA or LSAT. They can also get
Absolutely.
help with you as well.
Absolutely. My oldest student was 71, and they had decided to go
Wow.
back to law school, and it was beautiful. It was awesome. They just decided that in this next step, that was going to be the next phase for them. It was a pleasure working with them. It was great.
Wow. Okay. So I'm
Learners of
glad I
all
asked that
ages.
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how, a lot of people have been homeschooling, and for
Yes.
some people, things have changed. When
Yes.
I keep hearing people talking about this new math, how has
Yes.
the demand for your services been impacted by the pandemic?
Well, a lot more remote. I mean, we've always had students from what I call across the pond. I mean, I've always had one or two students here and there. My last student was from Germany. I've had students from South Africa. So I've always had students here and there internationally. But the pandemic has really demanded that we kind of retool and really get our classes online and up to speed remotely, not just one-on-one.
Hmm.
Now we're doing full classes remotely, and it's great. One of the things that we really take a lot of pride in is that our classes are live online. So it's not a video. It's not, here's a worksheet, fill it out and email me next week. It is live online. So it's just like us being in the classroom with the student, except we're not face to face. I mean, we're asking
Hmm.
students questions. I'm calling on students. Students have the opportunity to write on the whiteboard, just like I do, from the comfort of their couch or their, kitchen table. So we really had to do a lot of retooling in terms of, offering our classes remotely for all ages and all levels.
How would you say, at all, if college prep has changed
Mm,
in the wake of COVID? I've seen a lot of people telling students,
yes.
"Oh, you shouldn't go if you're going to be learning online. There's no need to go spend
Mm,
the money at a regular 4-year school. Save that money,
I
go to a community
understand.
college." But the other part of that is, I've heard people saying, "Well, that's okay, but make sure those credits will transfer to the
Hmm.
4-year college before you may
Right,
waste that time." So have
right,
you noticed
right.
a difference in college prep demand over the last few months?
Not really. I mean,
Okay.
the students who are really thinking about a community college are still thinking about community college. The students who are thinking about a traditional 4-year university are still looking toward that right now. Of course, it's an opportunity to really kind of evaluate where you are. There are some parents who are saying, I just can't pay 40,000 in tuition and my child is going to be learning remotely. But it's
Right.
still an opportunity to get acclimated to college coursework, to get the credits. That's really important. One of the big changes that we've seen, and I might be getting a little ahead of myself, but one of the changes that we've seen is that many colleges are going test optional. And we're really having to work extra hard to get parents to understand that test optional doesn't necessarily mean that test scores are not important. I look at, for example, University of Chicago. Chicago went test optional 2 years ago, and still over 80% of the students that they admit still send in test scores. So test optional is, it's an opportunity. It widens a door. It loosens a requirement, but I liken it to, say, a state that doesn't have a motorcycle helmet requirement. Maybe South Carolina, for example, doesn't require a motorcycle helmet. It will still be a good idea to wear one. So maybe University of X doesn't require SAT or ACT scores, but if I have very competitive scores, it's a really good idea to submit them and really give my application that extra leg up.
You mentioned South Carolina and the helmet, and all I could think about was Memorial Day weekend, and I'm gonna
Oh
just
my
leave that
goodness.
that
Okay.
right there. I'm gonna leave that
Right.
conversation alone.
Moving on.
Moving on. So,
Moving on.
you were talking about, the test optional. Have you seen parents
Hmm.
then in this pickle of trying to figure out, should there,
Hmm.
especially parents who have maybe high school juniors and seniors, are they still trying to figure out, do they need to
Hmm.
prep for standardized tests for college admissions, or have you noticed a change at all with that?
There, absolutely. One of the first things that we ask, do you want to be competitive not only for admission, but are you looking for a scholarship? So while the requirements may have changed for admission,
Hmm.
in many cases, the requirements have not loosened for scholarships, especially your big money merit scholarships. And lots of times test scores are tied to that. And once again, if you look at the language of the universities, they're very open to say in their policy, test scores are not required, but we do anticipate the students will continue to submit them. So students come to us all the time and say, well, if this school is test optional, should I submit? One of the first things we ask, again, do you want scholarship money? Two, is your score right now competitive in terms of the overall applicant pool? We really encourage parents and students, look at the freshman class profile, the most recent one available for your college or university. Where do your scores fall on the continuum of average admitted scores? If you are competitive for admitted students and you're really looking for scholarship money, then let's talk about improving that score to the next level so that you can really be competitive for scholarships.
Now, you've had some in the classroom experience prior to
Yeah.
APlus test prep.
Oh, yeah.
Given that teachers, administrators, parents, everyone, we're all dealing with something that we have not seen in our lifetime.
Yes.
What is some advice that
Yes.
you would offer for teachers as well as parents to get through this challenging time?
I'm going to start with the parent because
Okay.
parents are the linchpin. Parents offer grace. Everybody is doing this for the first time, really. No one anticipated. I mean, I think that I'm one of a gazillion people who thought in March, oh, we'll be closed for a couple of weeks. Let's do another week for spring break. Everybody will be back in the mix by mid-April, mid-May. I don't think anyone anticipated that we'd be in this position. Work closely with your child's teacher. As best possible, support that remote learning option. I know it's not face-to-face. It's not the same thing as going to the building, but this is really an opportunity for parents and students to really take more control over their child's education, to really be supportive. It can be something as simple as, here's a place at the kitchen table where we're going to always sit down and, sign in and do our work for our classes. Or it might be an opportunity, hey, we're going to read more books together. Remote learning, I think, is going to become a part of the educational sphere going forward. So I think it's going to be really good for students to have some kind of experience with it. I don't mean sitting down at a computer in front of a screen 8 hours a day. That's not necessarily what we mean. I don't want to do that. But I think it's going to be an opportunity to get students acclimated to learning in different ways. That's really important. It's really an opportunity to really encourage students to do more reading on their own, reading of subjects that they're interested in, for parents to read with their students. On the flip side, teachers, show some grace. This is new for lots of parents. Vincent reminded me the other day, I was working with a parent and they had a little trouble with our registration system. And I said, Vincent, I just can't believe it. He said, Sheba, think about it. If we were a grandparent and we were having to help our students right now, our grandchildren, navigate this whole online realm, he said, how well equipped would we be? He said, if we were, 75, 80 years old and we're trying to help our grandkids do this. I was like, wow, that's perspective right there. So, teachers, show a little grace. Everybody's doing the very best that we can. Teachers, I think, there's been a lot of discussion about, will I go back to the classroom? The safety for teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Teachers have to consider health first,
Right.
and I think that's worth a conversation with your school district, with your principal, with your department chair. I was listening to the news the other day, and a teacher in Georgia is running a hotline for educators to write in or call in or to email in their concerns or their grievances. They don't feel safe kind of going to their principal or to their district about their concerns about school opening back up. And one teacher said that she's going to be teaching 4 classes a day and 30 kids in a classroom. That's not fair to the teacher. So, I would implore districts. This is tough for everybody, but remember that teachers have families too. I would tell my students at school all the time, I am your teacher, but I wear a mama hat first, and I have to be able to go home and give my children the same thing that your parents want to be able to give to you. And I think that's what parents need to remember, especially those who are clamoring for, open the school doors all the way back up. What about that teacher's children, that teacher's family? What about the teacher who lives with his aging parents? What about the teacher who has an immunocompromised child at home, or who may have, a health condition of his or her own? So there are lots of things for everyone to consider. I think it's really easy in a situation like this for everybody to think about what my needs are, what I need. But what about everyone else's needs? And I think we have to think about ourselves, yes, but let's think about what others may need too. That's important.
Definitely. You have a question from Edwin, another fellow Tar Heel.
Good. All right. Although you focus on test prep, do you try to steer students toward a certain field such as STEM? Especially my young women. If they're strong in science and math, I tell especially my young ladies, go for the science, technology, the engineering, the math. There is a program at NC State. It's a scholarship. It's called the Good Night Scholarship. It is a full 4-year ride to NC State in science, technology, engineering, education, and math. So do I try to push them towards certain subjects? I don't try to push them, but I do talk to students all the time about what are the things that you like to do. And, my daughter kind of figured this out, my oldest daughter on her own, for herself. She realized that, hey, if you pursue a career that you really like, it won't really feel like work. But we do. We meet students all the time that, are drawn to certain subjects or certain topics or they have a certain creative talents. You absolutely want those students to explore those talents. STEM is really important, especially young women. I tell my young ladies, go for STEM. If you like science and math, it's okay to be the only young woman in the class. It's okay. Go in and be the most vocal voice in the room. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's really important. Yep. So we do try to help students figure out what their likenesses are. Yeah. What the things that they like. Yeah. Their passions. That's it. Thank you.
An interest inventory, is that what it's called? Is that what
We
it's
do.
called?
We do. Yes. Yes. That's what they call it. Yep. We do.
Okay.
We do.
I
Yep.
remember taking that in high school. Like I
Yes.
think when I visited
Yes.
Carolina.
But but that's really important because it's amazing to us the number of students who will say, "Oh, I want to be a lawyer." And I said, "Okay, well, tell me the latest book you read." And a student told me last year, "Oh, I hate reading." Wait, I thought you said you wanted to be a lawyer. She said, "I do." Wait a minute, baby. Wait a minute. Or the students you'll meet that will say, "I want to go into nursing," or "I want to be an engineer." And I said, "Okay, senior year is coming up. What math and science are you taking next year?" "Oh, I'm done with science and math. I've done all my required courses." Yeah, but if you want to be competitive for nursing or for medicine or for engineering, science and math are pretty important. So it's really about having some straight up conversations with students about that. We do this program every year. We're not doing it this year, unfortunately, but we do a program every fall. It's called Kickoff to College and Career. That was a great part that we added last year. It was a career, we call it a career corner. Students had the opportunity to meet doctors, lawyers, engineers, people in retail, people from it was auto mechanics, from every single possible career you could think of. We had 34 different careers represented. So it was an opportunity for, there were about 600 families that were in attendance for kids to flow through and say, "Hey, okay, you're a doctor. What's a typical day like? Well, how did you figure out that you wanted to be a pediatrician and not an oncologist?" That kind of thing. It was great. Students just need an opportunity to explore. Sometimes they may not have an accurate idea of what's really involved in doing this. I know that looks glamorous. They make a lot of money, but the lawyer who doesn't read, I haven't met one yet.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
Talking about STEM and scholarships at NC State, have you seen a shift in scholarships at all from maybe last year to, I guess people are beginning to apply now or for the fall?
We haven't seen a shift just yet. The new admission cycle is just starting for a lot of colleges. And I'm sure everybody is retooling, as we speak on the fly every day, every week, and adjusting requirements and so forth for different colleges and for different scholarships. I haven't seen a big shift yet. I do know there is one university, a colleague and I were talking about this over the weekend, that has talked about, going test optional for merit aid for scholarships. Okay. And that would shift the landscape big time for a college to do that, because there are other things, that colleges will want to consider, academic rigor, strength of curriculum, things that may not necessarily take the spotlight right now. If you take test scores out of the picture, then you're going to kind of have to highlight some other pieces of that application.
What, in your opinion, is the biggest challenge facing students and
Mhm.
parents right now?
Oh. One, paying for college. That's a big one. It's expensive. Um, and I think, I always ask students in our classes, how will you pay for college? And lots of times they'll turn around and they'll look at their mom or dad. No, don't look at mom or dad. How are you going to pay for college? Sometimes I think mom and dad feel like it's their role on the other end to pay for college. No, your role is right now in kindergarten, and first grade, and third grade, and fifth grade, and eighth grade, and 10th grade. Push them, push them, push them. But paying for college is a big concern too. Technology, that's a big thing. I mean, it's really difficult. It's getting more and more difficult for families, I think, to create a balance in between the productive use of technology and abuse of technology. There's a big
Mm.
difference. We'll have math classes sometimes, and we have had students to sit in our class and say, "Hey Siri, what's 5 times 8?"
Oh,
No, 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 baby, not
oh
here.
my goodness.
When I was little, we had to learn, I'm sure Fable said you had to learn your what? Times tables.
Timetables.
You
Yes.
could, and
Third
you could not,
grade.
you could not be promoted from the third grade unless you knew your times tables, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have such an over reliance on the calculator, on Google. I meet students who cannot sign their name on a document because they're so used to typing everything in, or they'll send an email. A student sent an email to an admissions counselor and CC'd me on the email. And we're writing the number two for the word to, and that kind of thing. There's just an over reliance of technology. I'm amazed. A friend of mine said the other day, parents are so concerned about going to remote learning, but these are also sometimes the same parents who have allowed their children to Netflix and Instagram and Xbox the whole summer away. So sometimes we just got to kind of back up off of the screens, and let that go a little bit. I think that's really hard because screens are everywhere, and
Yeah.
technology is great. Technology is allowing us, Angela, to sit right here, right now, and have this conversation with hundreds of people. But it's hard to strike that balance with technology. It's a great tool, but it's hard to strike that balance and not overuse it or abuse it. Yeah, that's definitely a
That.
challenge for parents. Definitely.
Yeah, ooh, and I would even say teachers too, especially with, the students,
Yes.
bringing them in class and
Yes.
in the halls,
Yes.
and yeah,
Yes.
because sometimes when
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
speaking in high
Mm.
schools, I am always amazed at the
Right.
eyes that are not, up, they're down.
Right.
They're
They're
down.
down. Yes. I
Yeah.
tell all my students, hey, you all go into two professions. Go into either be a chiropractor or go into ophthalmology. People's eyes are going to be shot from watching these screens all the time. And their back and their necks, they're going to need to be realigned because they're walking and they're walking and doing all day long, or they're
Hmm.
hunched over a screen all day long, and
Right.
that can be really, really tough. One last thing that I think is a challenge for parents, and I think in this age of the pandemic, parents are just really concerned about, you know, students falling behind academically. I don't want my child to fall behind. And that's really a concern too. So that's one of the things that Vincent and I have really been working on in terms of creating these enrichment classes. Learning how to be a better writer through literature, improving your basic math skills, things that parents can use to enrich what's going on at home and with the remote learning, so that their students don't fall behind. But as long as you keep your students reading, as long as you keep them reading, that's really important. That goes a long way, a long way.
We got another question from Edwin.
Okay. All right. A lot of people are having to pivot and reevaluate their careers and lives through the pandemic. What advice do you have for those folks, especially those 40 and up? Now is a great opportunity to pursue that passion and monetize that passion if you can. It is an absolutely great idea. Um, I'm thinking about a good friend of mine. She has just decided to um, open up a life coaching business. It's something she's wanted to pursue all this time. She has decided to jump right into it. I have another good friend. She also happens to be my cousin. She's an esthetician. Is that how you pronounce it?
I
They
think
do the
so.
facials. Okay, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. This is a great time to think about, what have I always wanted to do? What do I like to do? What what can I do to enrich the lives of others and really go after it? Now is a great time to do that. Some people took offense at the post, but someone posted on Facebook or Instagram back in April or May. They said, if at the end of this pandemic, you don't walk out of this thing with a new skill, a new passion, having learned to do, come on, what are you doing? Some people took offense to that, but I'm thinking we didn't have some time on our hands. Now is a great opportunity to really pursue that hobby, that craft, take that course that I haven't had a chance to do, and I've been putting off for months and months or years and years.
Hmm.
Go after it right now. They say when one door closes, another one opens. That is the good. That is the truth. That is nothing but the truth. You got to have some faith. I was a high school teacher for almost 19 years. Vincent left a job at North Carolina Central University. Um, we just kind of stepped out on it. Some family said, "Are you crazy? You all have 4 children. What are you going to do about your health insurance? Just different. Oh, y'all have 2 state jobs. You're going to give all that up?" It was just time to make a change. If you really believe in what you're doing, if you have a passion for what you do, um, doors will open for you. People will recognize your work. Go after it. I'm telling you, go after it. Life is too short to go through it, making somebody else's dreams come true. Go for yours. That's important. Go for yours. Yeah.
That is great advice, even for us seasoned folk out here in
Right.
these career streets.
Right.
So as
Right.
as we begin
Right.
to kind of wind this down, any advice you have for students and parents who are trying to figure out maybe if an option like A
Yeah.
plus test prep is right
Hmm.
for them?
If you want your child to succeed academically, Vincent and I, we have 4 children of our own, and we wear our parent hats all the time. When parents will ask me, well, Miss Brown, what about this? Or Sheba, what about that? The first thing I always say is, I have 4 children of my own. Here is what I did as a parent. I wouldn't want to advise anybody to do anything for their child that I don't think is okay for my own. If you want your child to, be supported academically, you know, if you want your child to kind of learn to grow and to be a more independent learner, A plus is a good place to kind of get started down that road. We help students of all ages. Uh, A plus test prep is where scores will open doors, and that's test.
Okay then. Y'all got that on a t-shirt? I
That's
love that.
hey, scores open
Scores will
doors. I
open
mean,
doors.
scores open doors to scholarships. I mean, I'm talking about, I have a teacher that tried 4 times to pass the praxis licensure exam here
Mm.
for North Carolina licensure. She had worked 22 years as a teacher's assistant and could never get past that financial threshold of a teacher assistant salary. She said, Miss Brown, I've been working all this time in schools. I want to earn my teacher certification. Well, come on, let's earn it together. She just got word before the pandemic closed schools that she had gotten a passing score on the Pearson and the Praxis exam. She is
Mm.
a certified teacher. So you think about not only what kind of doors, girl, I'm getting chills thinking about it, what kind of doors that opens for her, but what kind of doors that will open for her family now that her check has an extra few $1,000s in it. You know,
Right.
that means a lot. Scores open doors. Scores open doors to higher certification at your job, to scholarships to college, to a career in the military, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. We do ASVAB too. I had a student when 32 years old going back to get his GED. It's never too late. A
Mm.
plus test prep believes in being a partner for you. And if you're looking for that partner, no matter how young or old your student may be, this is where to be. Higher scores open doors. And the question is, where do you want to go?
This seemed like this need to be a documentary film.
No, 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 no,
Like
no,
the
no, no.
70-year-old who went to law school,
I'm
the
telling you.
teacher who taught for 22 years as an
Mm-hmm.
assistant but didn't have that
Mm-hmm.
accreditation and
Mm-hmm.
certification. Wow.
Right, right, right. I mean, there's a ton of stories. Angela, we could sit there all night. I could talk to you about, all of the success stories because, what they say, I am because you are. A
Mhm.
plus is all that it is because of all the things that our students do. We believe in being a partner. We believe in the village approach. For example, I have a class that's going to start on Sunday. I'm going to spend some time Thursday night talking to parents about how you can help A plus help your son or daughter. We're partners in this. It's not that you are going to drive by and drop your child off on the sidewalk. That's not the way it works. We're doing this together. We are
Mhm.
doing this together. Let us know what you need. We let you know what we need from you so that together we look at our children and they're moving on to that next step. That's what we all want. That is what we all want for all of our children.
Wow. Girl, you sound like you got a little preacher in you though. Like
I
I feel
no, no, no. I'm just good old country girl representing Enfield, North Carolina, 252. I grew up in a good church. I was raised by good folks. I grew up in a loving community, straight up country. Um, I thank my first two teachers, Jeanette and Willie Lowe. Hey, they
Mhm.
were my first two teachers. And that is one thing I want all parents to remember is that no matter where you think this whole learning thing is going, this whole education thing, our parents are our children's first teachers. We are the first teachers, always. So it doesn't matter what, oh, this year is not going the way I want it to go. It may not be, but remember that you are your child's first teacher and often the best teacher. You know,
Well,
everything else is just ancillary.
that's a great way to end this. You
Yeah.
all can connect with A Plus Test Prep on Instagram as well as Facebook. The handle is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Sheba, thank you so much for taking time
Thank
out of
you,
your busy
Angela. I really
schedule.
appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank
this
you.
this was
Thank you.
informative for me because in my mind, I didn't realize that you work with non-traditional age students. And so,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh
for
yeah.
those
Oh
who are
yeah.
trying to get over that hump of the LSAT, the MCAT,
Yep.
whatever test that might
Yep.
be, they can definitely
Absolutely.
get some help. And especially now that they can get some help virtually, so they don't necessarily have to be in North
Right.
Carolina, right?
Right. Absolutely. And it's interesting because we have a school that from outside North Carolina that has contacted us about helping their students for the ACT. As you know, the state of North Carolina requires all juniors to take the ACT and it's free. There was nothing like that when we were coming out of high school. North Carolina will pay for every student, every junior in North Carolina public schools to take the ACT. And we've been contacted for the first time by a high school outside of the state to work with their junior class. It's a small school, but that's one thing that schools can remember. If you need a program for your school, we can do it virtually as well. We'd be happy to.
Awesome.
Okay.
All
All right.
right.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you.
Well, again,
All
Sheba,
right.
thanks so much for taking time out of your
Thank
busy
you.
schedule and enjoy the rest
Thank
of
you.
your
All
evening.
right. You too.
Okay.
Appreciate you. Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye.
You're welcome. Bye bye. Well, that's it for this Tuesday night edition of the Angela Ray Show. Just want to remind you of our sponsor, Shear Styles Beauty Supply. And in closing, as always, I'm going to leave you with Ray of Motivation number 54. Cleaning a mirror does not change the person who is reflected in it. Until next time, I encourage you to go out and be the change. Have a great evening. Good night.